Yeah,
Welcome to our season wrap-up content special. This is FN Podcast Bracket Breakdown, guys.
Whoa.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mason. This is your other host, Nathan. And then there's Price, and then I guess there's me, Dylan. And today, we've got a bracket with the top 64 of our movies across all seasons, even movies we haven't even recorded from our long history of this. Yeah. And we've got it broken up into a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know, Nathan, you may or may not just edit like a blank bracket in there if you've got it ahead of time. Maybe. You may not. I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and break it down from the top.
I think there'll be a little bit of editing.
A little bit of editing on this one. That's fair.
We know if I can put birds in Birdemic, I can probably put a bracket.
Oh, the editing on that was spectacular. Even little explosions and everything.
All the faith in the world.
This man's techno wizardry knows no bounds.
It's amazing.
They should have hired me for Birdemic. I could have had slightly better birds.
Slightly better.
You wouldn't have got paid anything. Nobody was paid on that set. Mark our words.
So again, this is all the movies, as we discussed in our last review. This is all the movies that we have talked about in our first 3 seasons. We did have 104 movies to discuss, well, 105, counting Weathering with You. But we cut to the top 64 so we could make this smooth bracket. And Mason is going to be our announcer for the day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he does get an opinion as well, so he does get to do a little bit more.
What if I wasn't? What if it was just between you three? There would be no ties, and I was literally just here to type it in.
As a quick side note, it'd probably be a benefit that we'll probably toss a link to the bracket below in the description in case you just want to follow along that way, because it may not always be up in front of you. That just sounds like good future-proofing. But without further ado, Mason, hit us from the top. What is the first match of this?
All right, so this is a normal tournament style. You have seeds 1 through 16 correlating all the way through. So obviously the ones play the 16s in the first round and so on. First one we have is Jurassic Park versus Excalibur.
All right, I'm peeping at his bracket. He's got up a blank bracket, but he's got only this one filled out. And Jurassic Park has already advanced to the next round.
I feel like that's really unfair.
Yeah, I think that we're really criminally
I think I'm being robbed here.
Yeah. Oh, I gave the movie a 2, so I'm fine with just skipping this discussion. You all take it away.
I gave it, but it was low.
All right, it was higher than it should be, Mason.
Mason and Price are already on Jurassic Park. Nathan, we'll go ahead and give you your slot here.
I mean, it's got to be Jurassic Park, obviously. Although, I mean, Excalibur is also a high-budget movie with a lot of really great actors.
Right.
Longer. It's longer.
It's
longer. Whenever you go to the movies, don't you want the most amount
Bang
of movie?
for your buck.
Don't you want
as much
movie as possible?
No.
I mean, you know what's weird? I don't even remember if there's nudity in this movie. I'm sure there is.
Is Excalibur?
Definitely
definitely.
I was like,
definitely
I'm sure
nudity.
it's so much movie. Like I had a hard time remembering.
There's a lot of female nudity with full plate mail.
Right, I remember the plate mail nudity on that.
Yeah.
One. But there was never dong hung though.
No.
So it's got to be Jurassic Park, guys.
Dylan's gonna say no to it.
It's got to be Jurassic Park as one of my personal favorite movies. I won't lie to you. This actually kind of breaks my heart that Excalibur goes against Jurassic Park, even though it's like definitely a 16.
He doesn't have a chance anywhere.
It's funny though because Jurassic Park is actually overall averaged as our highest movie in the entire set so far, and Excalibur. Amongst the 64 might have been the number 62 to 64, somewhere around there.
I also would like to discuss, before we go too further deep into this bracket, so the way that we're judging this is not by like pedigree of movie, it's completely discretionary, right? Like we're judging like
just
I feel like
per matchup basis.
Yeah, so like if I gave Excalibur a 10, which I would shoot myself in the foot first, but if I gave Excalibur a 10 and like Jurassic Park like an 8, like I guess I would be fighting for Excalibur, even though Jurassic Park is the way
by far the more renowned, critically acclaimed movie.
Okay,
and all that, right?
I just want to get that knocked out before we continue on.
If nothing else, I think in tiebreaker discussions, that's when pedigree and all that jazz actually becomes to make a defying factor, but even then we'll see if that
we are very level-headed adult males. We know how to. We can break ties.
Most of us.
Shut up, you fat cow! No, we don't. Give us the next movie pick. What is it?
So Jurassic Park moves on to the second round. The next matchup is Kiki's Delivery Service at a 9 seed versus Fantastic Mr. Fox at an 8 seed.
Mason, you start us off.
Yeah, Mason. This is your 10. Yeah. Mason gave 110 the entire 3 seasons.
Yeah.
let's hear his pitch.
I'm not gonna start by just throwing Kiki's under the bus because
I
I
would
do
appreciate
think that was a fun movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox, I think for what it is and it being stop motion, I think it deserves to go to the next round. And that's why I'm pushing it. But I think that Wes Anderson is just this well-renowned person. You're always gonna know who he is. Isn't Kiki's Studio Ghibli?
Miyazaki.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have the same thing.
Way more.
You have the same,
Way
you know, everyone knows Studio Ghibli, a lot of people know Wes Anderson, so it's just one of these tough matchups that we have to get through right now.
I'll take the second pitch since I did Kiki's and really like that movie, but I remember when we did the double feature that it was that and Mononoke, and I was really the only one that was like Kiki's is something special, whereas they didn't really see it, which is fine. I mean, I know Mr. Fox is probably going to be the one to go through, but Kiki's, I still feel like, should have a shot because, I mean, it's just such a whimsical atmosphere that, besides Spirited Away, I think really encapsulates Ghibli's strength in creating a world and putting you in it. Although Spirited Away is their world is a lot more interesting because it's a lot more fantastical, whereas Kiki's is a lot more grounded and realistic. It still depicts like the struggles of this magical person in a non-magical world, and the music in it is, I mean,
Also,
one of my favorites.
I was going to mention,
for this.
they actually have the exact same decade of music, the 60s and 50s type music. Fantastic.
That is true
I didn't
because
notice it till
Kiki's
just now.
has that really like kind of bebop like kind of soundtrack that I love so much.
And Fantastic Mr. Fox has like Beach Boys
Right.
and stuff like that.
But
too, so.
Kiki's doesn't really have that typical kind of plot structure that Fantastic Mr. Fox does, which can kind of take away from it. I kind of enjoy because it's something different, but it doesn't really have as great of a like through line as Mr. Fox does. But I'm still going to narrowly give the nod to Kiki's on this one, even though I very much enjoyed Fantastic Mr. Fox. So very narrow for Kiki.
1-1 right now.
Yep.
So Kiki's is, again, very light and whimsical. To me, it's a movie that fits very well to be put on for your kids to watch. And they would have a good time, and you would probably enjoy it well enough, too. I feel like Fantastic Mr. Fox just has more to it, and for me, is the one that I would pick.
Okay.
This is a close one for me. I won't lie. I like this being an 8 and 9 seed facing off feels like incredibly appropriate for this
Yes,
one.
it does.
There's a lot of similarities in its own ways. It's like these obviously are two different plots, but there's a lot of similarities in both tone and I mean music for that matter as well in both of these. I enjoy both of these films. There's no losing one between this one except for just in this fight, and I just have to give the edge over it on for Fantastic Mr. Fox. I really enjoy Kiki's, but it just feels like the movie that I walked away enjoying more if I had to put them two together. I mean, there's no hard feelings there. Both of them are great movies.
Yeah, that's a really close one as compared to the last little bout.
There's so fucking
Well,
obliteration.
It makes sense that the last one was going to be a blowout.
Right, like
Yeah, number
versus
one,
16,
it's gonna
right.
like I think your name is against like Raw or something.
No, it's
I
Hereditary.
can't remember. It's
Hereditary,
something.
yeah.
Hereditary, really?
Let's not. Let's
yeah,
not
no
get
spoilers.
ahead
No
of
spoilers. Yeah,
They
that's-
have the bracket.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
All right, so the next matchup is a 5 seed, Snatch versus Phone Booth at the 12 seed.
You did
Snatch.
both of these movies.
I know these are
so
both Dylan movies. So
let's hear both pitches here, sir.
I'll tell you right
Or
now.
I can take Snatch and you do Phone Booth.
I could literally do both. Like,
Well, which one do you want to do? I'll do the other.
I'll do Phone Booth because I feel like I'll be the one that's going to be in the defense on this one.
Go
So, Phone Booth is going to get overlooked. Its seed is lower. Its score is lower. I know this.
It's one of the first we watched.
It
too.
is literally one of the first ones we watched. So recency bias will play an extra part in Snatch.
And like our discussion of it's not even on YouTube.
Yeah, you literally cannot find our discussion for it. But here's the thing. What's his... Oh, man. The voice actor for the sniper, whose name I'm totally
Oh,
blank.
man.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, keep
Yep, that's it. Good
Kiefer
job.
Sutherland is so good in that role. Like, even, regardless of how you feel about the movie, the premise, which is, like, silly and very dated now at this point, mind you. Like,
Is it a phone
a
booth?
phone booth, right. Literally, anybody who's under the age of 25 is like, what the fuck is this movie? Like, these aren't real. That's a joke. Yeah, but, alright, so I'll admit, there's a kind of, like, fun, campy thing looking backwards in time for it. But Kiefer Sutherland's like voice acting performance is a phenomenal thing, and Colin Farrell, I mean, he does a great job for it. He carries every bit of this movie on his shoulders.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for me not to sit there and boost those credits because I really, really enjoy Phone Booth. Snatch
Am I
is
doing Snatch?
enjoyable.
I would love to. I just rewatched it for this week. By the way, are we doing spoilers here or not?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes?
Yeah, I mean, we feel like it probably needs
To
to come
some
into
degree.
play. Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't
Okay.
just give away
Okay,
everything.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So Snatch, Dylan picked this movie, so all credit to him because this was not on my radar whatsoever. This movie is just, you're talking about two performances by just two people, whereas Snatch has a tour de force of characters. I mean, and like even Jason Statham gives a like good acting job, which I think is very surprising from him because most of the time he's just like, I am like handsome action man.
This was before that.
Let's do action.
Jason Statham
Yeah.
is like low-key a great comedy actor. Like
Yeah, and he like so like you have so many different moving pieces at the same time. Where I remember in our review for this, I compared it to a heist movie, but there really is no heist, which is great. I mean, there's so many moving pieces. Like you have the Jason Statham people, you have the three black guys stealing the diamond. You have Del Toro actually getting the diamond himself. You have Pikey, Brad Pitt, being this awesome fighter for some reason. You have Bricktop moving around doing his evil stuff all at the same time. And then it all just culminates in this one moment where literally everything comes to a head, which is one of my favorite scenes that we have watched when all these plot lines literally come together at the same time. But the thing I like about it, especially after watching the rewatch, I noticed that they all disperse kind of afterwards too. Like it doesn't come together and then just spearhead towards the goal, which I like because it comes together and then goes back to what it was already doing so well. And it was just a movie that really took me by surprise. It really showed that Brad Pitt could really act because, I mean, there's like, I showed them a screenshot. I was turning on the subtitles and it said like English, Spanish, just Pikey, which is Brad Pitt. So this Snatch wins it by a long shot for me. I very much enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely Snatch in my mind. I mean, it's one that I would see going fairly far in this personally, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think that Phone Booth brings some things to the table as far as like it's not as story driven. I mean, there's one little tiny. You guys forgot about Kate Holmes in that movie.
Katie Holmes is in it.
I've seen that movie twice in my lifetime, and I remember that Kate Holmes is
I
the girl
forgot
that
she was
he
in
has
it.
the
Yeah,
affair
she's
with.
the affair. She's a snack in that.
Which I think that like Phone Booth is a movie that you don't have to be set your eyes in front of the television the entire time. You have to be paying attention. You could walk away from that movie for 40 minutes and come back and it will all be the exact same. You won't have gathered anything or lost anything from it. While Snatch, you do have to pay attention.
The entire time.
But there's a lot more payoff with Snatch. So I'm with you, Nathan, and you two have brought up really good
vote
points.
on?
I'll inevitably vote for Snatch because it just it's more ambitious. It does more, and its highs are a little bit higher. But I love Phone Booth.
Phone Booth is great, and I think that Phone Booth, it's plenty, but this is another one of those matchups it's just not going to win against.
Right.
So
it's just there's a better movie.
Both from like the same time period, relatively though.
Yeah.
Late
Which is
90s,
interesting.
early 2000s.
Yeah.
All right, our next matchup is Inception versus It Follows. That's a 4 versus a 13.
Yep.
Do we want to do pitches or are we just doing Inception?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear here that
It's-
Inception, like It Follows, was neat, but Inception is such a bigger movie.
Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
budgets for these movies is stupid.
It's kind of hard to
You
compare.
cannot compare these
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's not try and just move Inception on.
Yeah.
Inception
I
wins.
say
It
it's a fair
Follows is
Inception.
great, but it's
I'm
not.
looking forward to that discussion though, Snatch versus Inception. I think that one.
Ooh,
I think that could be interesting.
that one could get heated.
So
But we're not going to worry about that right now because we are still in
If
the
you
first
thought
round.
that one was lopsided, wait until Kill Bill Volume 1 versus Easy A.
All right, so we haven't.
What
guys
a
just go
master.
ahead.
I don't think we even need to do pitches on this one. Like,
Hold on 3 then. On 3.
Yep.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Easy
Kill
A.
Bill.
Kill Bill. would you actually pick Easy A?
No.
Oh.
Kill Bill 1 was pretty okay. Like, I actually enjoyed
Oh yeah,
it.
2 is when all of us unanimously,
Number 2
besides this
sucked,
guy.
in my
I like
opinion.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
Dylan actually went the opposite on that. He thinks
all
2
of us
is better
went
than
down.
1.
All of us went down like
Yeah.
2 points average between
But-
the two.
Another thing that you'll probably hear me say a lot in this is comedies have only got so many legs. Like, they can't go the distance in fights up like this. Like, I just...
See, I disagree.
Easy A.
Don't worry, this will be a contentious argument
Yeah.
later in the bracket.
Yes, it will.
It will.
All right, what's next?
So the next one is some of my favorites. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl at a 6 seed versus Sing Street, the 11.
This being a Sixth Street actually surprises me.
I'm gonna start my argument.
Can I just pass?
Go ahead.
I pretty much did on that last
Mason,
one.
you pitch it.
Me and Earl and the Dying Girl has such a good story. While Sing Street's basis is pretty much guy wants girl, guy creates band, with a pretty good soundtrack. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, however, I think tells so much better of a story. It's a lot funnier, I think. The main drive for Sing Street is that it is in, like, you know, it's in Ireland. It's kind of a cool, like, setting. It's based in the 80s, while Me and Earl and the Dying Girl is current day. But Sing Street's music is probably not enough for me. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl definitely moves on for me.
Who's doing Sing Street? I'm not.
I know you won't.
No, like, Sing Street, the songs from it are the thing that stick with you the most.
Yeah.
Whereas the, like, actual story and emotional drive behind Me, Earl and the Dying Girl is what sticks with you there, and that is a much bigger deal and a much better payoff than, like, oh yeah, that was a pretty cool song, and that scene was funny while they were singing that one song.
Exactly.
Like,
and in 10 years, are you going to remember more from that versus this? You know, it's just one of those.
I actually am. I'll pick it up from there. Sing Street, I did not like either of these movies. But Sing Street, at least the soundtrack, even I could, like, get behind. Like, I still enjoyed it. Drive It Like You Stole It just came on my Spotify, like, yesterday. So almost for the sake of that one song and the fact that I really did not like Me, Earl and the Dying Girl, I'm going with Sing Street.
There you go, Dylan. Here's your chance.
You can tie it up.
Tie it up.
Sing Street's soundtrack is so good.
Yeah.
It is a movie. I mean, let's call it for what it is. It's a musical. Like, it's a musical movie. Like, it is a movie that totally lives and dies on its soundtrack, and the soundtrack is really good. I don't think it should be discounted for that. Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl as a movie is better, though. I mean, here's the thing. Like, sure, a musical that excels while doing the music stuff is great. It did just one job. The movie around it was interesting enough, but, you know, let's say we take the music out. If you told me if I'd watch this movie and give it a good score, I'd be like, no, like...
The two main characters died. Is that not a twist enough for
Dylan
you?
made them
Yeah, okay, so in my canon, those two kids definitely died. But only one teenager dies in Me, Earl and the Dying Girl, so you know what? Let's tie it up. So,
Yeah! We got an impasse.
So,
Alright, can anybody give way and be like,
any swing thoughts
Maybe.
or closing things before we defer to our off-screen judges for a
I
first
will
time?
say, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, I read prior to watching it, and it is one of the few movies that are better than the book. Not by a long shot, just it's
but
one
you're
of those
still holding
movies.
on Me, Earl and the Dying Girl?
Totally holding.
Alright, what about you, Nathan?
Yeah,
Really?
that like Drive It Like You Stole It is a really good song and a really fun scene. But Me, Earl and the Dying Girl as a whole is a much better movie than Sing Street.
See, I
was as a
disagree.
movie.
I think
I still
Sing
just
Street's
see
still
that
more
scene
enjoyable.
of like all of those like colorful, like his final like clip that he gives her, and it's just a bunch of abstract bullshit happening, and her face just sticks with me for forever, and I don't know why.
It doesn't with me. I hated every moment of that movie.
See,
Go ahead and continue.
and I like Me,
What do
Earl
you
and the
got?
Dying Girl. Like, I do. This isn't a slight against it, but I sit here and I say, like, how much more do I like in either film? And Me, Earl and Dying Girl, well, I remember really enjoying, especially for, like, you know, the ending and everything that it does. I'm trying to remember, like, you know, like the other parts that I would say, oh, this really stuck out, and it's not hitting me. And that's not a bad thing. Like I said, I overall enjoyed the film.
It was the very first movie that I
Right,
picked,
and this
so
is a
long
movie that
time
we saw
ago.
way early on again.
Yeah.
And again, there's a reason he buys with Sing Street. But then if you told me, like, how much do you like of Sing Street? I'm like, I mean, it's a musical, and I like 90% of that whole, like, soundtrack. So it's kind of hard for me to sit there and say, I can remember this song, and that one had more staying power.
Alright, so we give no ground, we give no quarter.
So we have to defer to our off-screen judge! And in this case, we're going to use Jill, because Jill happens to be in the room.
Annabeth's over there, too.
Annabeth is also over here. Oh, okay, I didn't even see that you were on the stage.
I haven't seen both movies.
Oh, I thought you had.
No.
Alright, so...
Have you not either?
Alright,
I was in Sing Street.
who wants the first tiebreaker?
She's actually seen Sing Street.
Okay, well...
She has too.
We've both seen Sing Street and neither of us have seen Me, Earl and the Dying.
Alright, so one of you do the tiebreaker for this one then.
I think
Give
that's
it-
the
give us
bias.
your best.
We choose Sing Street.
Sing Street goes
Sing
ahead
Street
into
moves
the...
on!
Aw, man.
How ironic.
Yeah. Who would have
I
guessed?
like the other one too, but
This is the kind of lovely, unbiased commentary you love in
That's
tiebreakers,
okay.
guys.
Its
I
next
like
matchup
how
will be tough.
Dylan had no problem with like, oh, so you've only seen the one I want? Okay.
Yeah.
We have no other options on this, guys.
We
These
don't.
are the only other two
Because I'm
tiebreakers.
not giving, no one's giving, so.
I would have almost given
I
if
mean,
it was
ultimately it's fine.
It's probably not gonna
Nah,
It's not.
take the.
it will be minimal value difference in the bracket by the time it's said and done. But next match.
What we got, Mason?
All right, here. This one should be spicy. We have The Social Network versus Mad Max. It's a 7 versus a 10.
Ooh.
Take it away, boys.
Boy, I want to start with Nathan on this one.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. He hasn't done one
Okay,
yet.
Yeah.
so
Because I know he's voting Mad Max.
Maybe.
Easy.
I've liked both
Oh,
of the
yeah.
movies. And whenever we did actually review Mad Max, my opinion of it was generally that it left me exhausted.
Yeah.
When I've seen that movie, multiple times, and for me, it's got a lot of staying power. I also just like there's a little bit of just loving the all the memes and culture that it birthed forth into the world.
That's a
yeah.
So it's gonna take it for me, but I do think that The Social Network is also a really solid movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that Mad Max has those two color palettes, which is blue and then solid red. And like it's,
Yeah.
the whole movie is one or the other. You're right. I mean, Furiosa's face stays in my head forever. The milkman guy, the guy who rules over everything. I would never be able to forget his face.
The Imperator?
I guess.
I know who he's talking about. The Emperor guy.
Yeah. But with that being
But
said...
you're here to talk about The Social Network.
But with that being said, The Social Network brings forth some of the best performances I think I've ever seen of the characters, or of the actors and actresses that are in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, Mad Max, like you said, is just pedal down to the ground. I loved it after we reviewed it. I mean,
these are two very different movies.
Right.
Yeah.
They are. And they both, I think, have probably the same runtime, to be honest.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that The Social Network is, performance-wise, much better, and it's about a subject that shouldn't matter. Like, no one cares, but they made people care about it. So
I don't know. Facebook's pretty important.
it was.
Yeah.
It
It
isn't
is.
as much now,
It
but
was,
yes.
and it's like boomer media. At this
It would be
point.
like you
Unix.
finding a documentary on like TikTok. Like you shouldn't care anything about it. But
Ooh,
if you
even
watch
worse. No, it'd be a Vine TikTok.
It would be a
Or
Vine TikTok,
documentary.
Yeah.
God. As much as I enjoy Mad Max, I remember the sentiment was, even for me, I was just like, I am exhausted after watching it. Like, I could have fallen asleep because
Just like Promare. Same thing.
Yeah, but like, at least I liked Mad Max,
Yeah.
Like, but I'll agree with the argument. I think that if we're looking at like, two of these movies being two drastically different ones, but still quality films, Social Network does a lot more for what it's been given. If you told me that, you were like, all right, you've got eggs and you've got milk, make a recipe with it. It made like a great breakfast, but like Mad Max gets a whole buffet of things to work with, and it still gives me just Mad Max, which isn't to say that it's bad, but comparatively, Social Network did a lot more with what it was given. The performances I thought were super solid, and I mean the dialogue especially is written by Andy Sorkin, so it's hard not to just be entranced by people talking. Which is funny because Mad Max is the total opposite. He talks
like that's the
30
thing. Like
lines,
these two movies are very high caliber for very different reasons.
Yeah,
like Social Network is definitely about the lines and the actors and their performances.
Yeah.
Whereas Mad Max is incredible cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've ever seen any videos breaking down the like flow of your eye through the screen and the way the director cut this movie to where it was constantly keeping you just looking where you needed to be looking.
Your eyes were not bleeding by the end of it, then they were doing something wrong.
Like it was going so fast,
Yeah.
but it didn't make you feel like you were losing track of what was going on because it was so masterfully put together.
right.
Yeah.
And I hate to be this guy and do this again, but
He doesn't hate it.
Mad Max,
He loves it.
Mad Max, even though like this and Social Network are about the same level for me, Mad Max still gets the nod from me because it just does so much more than the Social Network. I don't like the argument of like it's given so little and does good. I don't like that. Like Mad Max shoots for the stars and still like even though it doesn't quite get there, it still like achieves quite a bit. So like the Social Network's like what they're given is here, but what they bring it to is like here. Mad Max shoots for like up here. It just kind of still falls around like right here, which I really like all of the effort they put into this movie. Just looking at it on a visual level is beautiful, which I always enjoy with movies. Mm-hmm. And the Social Network is just still kind of boring to me.
It's also dark.
The dialogue just doesn't really hit with me, and that is a very important part of me in movies, where dialogue is supposed to be really important. Such as like some of my favorite movies, like Hateful Eight and Inglourious Basterds, both Tarantino movies. Like the dialogue pulls me in and doesn't let me go the entire time. Social Network has these moments where it completely takes me out whenever they do the dialogue. Case in point is when they're in the conference room or whatever, and they're like, Mr. Zuckerberg, I don't feel like I don't have your attention. He's like, you couldn't even handle my full attention. And I'm like, I'm done. Nope. This guy's an asshat. I hated it. So, yeah, Mad Max definitely gives it for me.
That's his intention. So
yeah.
He
did, I guess, well.
That's a good director.
No,
director performance.
Yeah. But the performances still in that movie aren't outstanding. Like, if any of them got nominated for anything acting-wise, I would be very surprised. All of them didn't do too much for me. None of them had that moment besides Jesse Eisenberg's friend when he gets let off of the company.
Andrew Garfield's
and he gets that moment to flex a little bit and show he can act, but everybody else in that movie is just there. Mm-hmm. They're just acting their role, not doing too much and not making too much of a splash. So Mad Max.
Another tie
for me.
And
I'm very surprised.
Are we gonna want to budge on this one? Do we just?
Well, I mean, do you?
I don't want to budge.
I'm not budging on this one.
Tiebreaker.
I mean, I'm not either because again, Social Network had what it was trying to do did not achieve that for me. Whereas Mad Max did what it wanted to do.
Annabeth!
Oh my gosh, I can't believe.
Tell me you've seen one of these movies.
I've seen The Social Network.
Oh hell yeah!
And
What about you,
really
Jill?
liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote Social Network.
All right.
I feel like this is just.
This is not.
Really?
Is there no other way we can decide?
If there was, I would love to hear it.
Okay, I know Mason's not going to give any ground on that one because he adores The Social Network.
It's incredible.
I
you can't
I love both. I love both. I'm with you guys. I don't disagree with your guys' arguments other than the fact that here's my last remaining argument to say. If you put two movies right here in front of me, Mad Max and Social Network right now, and you said, which one you want to rewatch? Social Network.
100%.
For me, it's absolutely
See,
Mad
and
Max.
that's where I lean on the
But
Social
imagine
Network.
you just got done from the gym, you got this awesome pump on, you're like,
the last thing I want to watch is that. That'll
take
take me right down. I don't need to be that enthusiastic after I go from the gym, so...
If you want to hear from somebody who's seen neither, I'm more interested in seeing Mad Max.
We've already deferred on tiebreaker. You
All
get the
right,
next one, so sorry.
I'll break it. I'll break and say I can see where you're coming from for Social Network.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't like it, but
just...
if we're really getting that close, I will give it to Social Network.
Okay, I want to hear Nathan's right off the bat on this one.
Yep, Nathan, take it away. We have
What's the next
Repo, the Genetic Opera versus Warrior.
Pass.
That's a tough one, I'm sure.
Nathan.
Okay, would you actually give it to Repo as opposed to Warrior? Okay, so we don't even need to talk about it.
All right, so Warrior.
Repo is not very good. It's just...
I would agree.
It's entertaining, but it's not a great movie.
If given the right opportunity with the right matchup, maybe it's worth talking about.
Did we record Repo?
But
no.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
He made an awesome thumbnail for it.
Yeah, I remember he went out of his way for one of the movies like that. Anyway, next movie.
What we got?
We're in the Gyllenhaal block.
Yeah.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, we are.
What we got?
That is the first quadrant. So the next quadrant, the 16
Quadrant
versus
two.
the 1 seed, is Brothers versus Nightcrawler.
Is anybody actually going to vote for Brothers?
Me.
Okay, all right, go for it.
It's not going to matter.
No, you're not.
I will
Do I need to
say...
go get the jacket?
Price, it's brother.
We're brothers, man. Just like my wife, we're brothers.
So, out of the 1 seeds, which we'll expose all of them pretty soon, Nightcrawler is my least favorite of all of them. You three love Nightcrawler, and I like it. But I do think if there's any movie that a 16 seed can overtake a 1, it is this one.
In his opinion.
In my opinion.
In his opinion.
In my opinion.
That is not objective by any way.
Nightcrawler is meant to leave you feeling like scum, feeling like there is scum out there, which is great.
Brothers does too. Yeah,
Brothers
Tobey
has a happy
Maguire has
ending.
insane PTSD and
there's
it's
a-
like
there's a happy
It's
ending.
taking
supposed
out
to
on
make
everyone.
you feel like really bad for people that
Yeah.
go to war.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel good.
Do you remember
about
when
that.
he killed his friend? How dark
Yeah.
was that?
When they're like, kill your friend, you're like, ah!
Although to be fair, that argument could be made for both movies.
Yes.
Oh. Good
Jake
point.
Gyllenhaal basically, well, he didn't kill him in that one.
That's true.
No.
That was
But
Toby,
anyways,
I forgot.
yes, brothers, I understand it's not moving forward. Do you guys want to?
I'm not going to do my pitch for
Okay.
Nightcrawler yet. It's not needed.
I won't lie to you. I'm actually voting Brothers.
No way.
I'm dead serious.
I
No
lied to
I'm
you.
dead serious.
No
I'm dead
way!
serious. Dude, here's my thing. All right, here's my thing. Here's my thing. All right, Nightcrawler is a great performance and it's super dark, creepy, weird stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
But Brothers is
And?
while being, and I'll admit, not a better movie. It is one of those movies that like we've memed to the point where I'm like I'm drank the Kool-Aid. I'm like no. I thought about
Just let
Toby.
it-
I
just let
thought
it
about
go.
Toby. I thought about Toby
got
killing
it.
his friend, right? And I was just like shit. But it's one of those movies now that I think is like it's curving back up. Like it was just like yeah, it's kind of a bad film and there's a lot of things to hate on it. But holy shit, I'm
But
kind
damn it,
of
that kitchen scene.
I'm kind of loving it the more it goes on. So I'm legitimately voting Brothers.
I got this. All right.
I'm legitimately
I
voting
thought I was really going to have to do a pitch for this later. I cannot,
You can't believe it's coming in the
Fathom.
first round? You better pitch it as hard as you can.
because Nightcrawler, you all were just saying with Social Network that it takes this subject. Like I'm going to turn the same argument against you.
Go for it.
You said
It's the
you all
subjectivity.
said that like it takes a subject that you would not normally care about and makes it into something interesting. And I feel like Nightcrawler does that in leaps and spades, especially way more than Social Network. Have you all, like I've never even thought about the fact that like there are people out there who go to crime scenes and film people like dying in their worst situations. And that would like seems like would be an interesting subject for a documentary, but maybe not a movie. And they turned it into a movie that is
Yeah.
extremely fascinating, that deals with the subject in a respectful way from the lens of somebody who is deeply psychotic.
I was gonna say, it's
And
like that.
you
Yeah.
see him deal with this industry that he knows nothing about and gradually learns and like takes it over and uses people at every step of the way. Now,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
would say too, this is pretty multi-layered because it is the subject of these people that do this kind of filming, but it's also about just seeing how somebody who has like antisocial psychopathic mental tendencies operates in the world.
Yeah.
Like
In a
that's
world
the
like
other
this,
thing about
too.
it is you're seeing just like this is human behavior whenever you're on the spectrum like that.
It's interesting
Yeah.
because even if you compare the two, they're both they're both case concept movies, right? You're sitting here and I know I'm gonna get memed for it. This is the therapist in the room. This is a mental health study
Yeah.
against mental health study.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
Yeah,
it really
it
is though.
is.
Like it is literally straight sociopath, odd, like probably some spectrum stuff, awareness in Nightcrawler versus PTSD on that one. And if I was gonna go into that category, it gets dicey. But Brothers, not to say that it's better at that category. I think Nightcrawler does a much better job of explaining like the pathology aspects of fuck that.
I cannot believe you said
Hey,
that.
luckily,
It's
that's
technical
not even
terminology.
on.
It's technical terminology, but fuck that movie. But yeah, like it does a better job of exploring a character. But the movie and world around it is only interesting because Jake Gyllenhaal is interesting.
But the
Brother-
other characters are very interesting too. Like you have this
Riz
down
Ahmed.
and is out. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he does not understand that he is being used to this extent and is
Yeah.
just desperate for something. Like he's like, can I get paid? Like I need to get paid. Like I'm living in a garage and like just gets taken advantage of by this guy until the point where he is way too far in and Jake Gyllenhaal is just way too on top and knows how to deal with him. And I don't know, the movie like is shot, even though it's all very dark, like even the shots in it are so good. And Jake Gyllenhaal's performance in this just skyrockets over every single one of the performances
a
that are
crazy
given in
good
this.
psycho.
Brothers,
Yeah.
Brothers.
You don't think he did a great job?
Yeah,
Brothers-
come
You
on,
don't think he
come
did
on,
a great
brother.
job?
Okay, you
Man,
know, the only
that-
one
Like
you're
honestly, we
I know,
we
that one scene I
berated
wanna take that
Mason
down.
so much
Yeah,
on
you
that
did too.
review
Twice.
twice.
No, and it's bad. That part is terribly
See?
bad.
And
But-
Dylan is like only
so
doing it
give
for
me
like
the
the
pass.
memes.
No,
I
no,
know.
no, no.
Like that's what
But-
I feel like
yeah,
is happening here.
for like
This isn't legitimate.
Yeah, this
No,
isn't legitimate.
This is like, all right. Here's my argument. Nightcrawler is a better movie, yes, but Brothers is the
There we freaking go!
But for like critical acclaim and all of that jazz, right? But Brothers has so many elements that like I want to return back to it because I think we memed on it so hard for like the stupid stuff. But I think because we're so focused into the like a couple of these things that were admittedly very bad. There's a lot of part that we ignore that there's good in this part. I remember thinking any part in the kitchen, any scenes in the
I
kitchen.
genuinely
would be good.
disagree with that notion because I did not enjoy any of my time with Brothers. You all said like Nightcrawler like had like moments in it where you were in it. Brothers honestly had nothing for me. Every time I thought it was so contrived that every time they were in the kitchen, that is the only time any kind of confrontation or any kind of issues came to light.
They do
There
love
are
the
so
kitchen.
many other times where Tobey Maguire like will go up to Jake Gyllenhaal like, you slept with my wife, when they're not in the kitchen, and he's like, oh, I guess we're not in the kitchen, so we're not going to discuss it right now.
Yeah.
And then finally it all comes to a head in the kitchen every single time they're in it. And Tobey Maguire overacts in this movie way
He
too
does not
hard.
overreact. I
He-
think it's a great
I
performance.
say he overacts in this
Oh,
way
well,
too
still,
much.
I
it's
think
a great
Toby just
performance.
overacts in general, but that's
Which is a
Yeah.
detriment to the movie as a whole because when like he's just going totally ballistic when he shouldn't be. Like he should be getting upset. I grant you that, but he just overacts the shit out
It's like
of
telling
it.
a
It just
crazy
takes me
person
out
not
of
to be
it.
crazy, though. I mean, like,
He's an actor. He's not actually crazy. He's acting crazy. Like it's
that's his job.
But
He's
that's
an
his,
actor.
That's his role in that movie, though. I mean, he's supposed to act in that position. I mean, that's
And
That's a
also,
silly
we
argument.
have to remember, too,
there's
a 1 seed is not always going to beat a 2 seed. A 4 seed is not always going to beat an 8 seed. You know, this
Brothers is a last seed. It's down there with Excalibur against movies that we have all across the board have said this is not a good movie.
3 years ago, Virginia got beat by UMBC.
I know nothing about sports.
A 1
I
seed
don't
versus
care
a
about
16
sports.
seed. It was the
And
first
Dylan is
time
doing this-
in 80
and-
years.
And Dylan is doing this more just to like bring up this argument when we all three of us collectively agreed that Brothers is not a good movie. And then all 4 of us said Nightcrawler is a good movie. This should not be a discussion. I cannot believe we are having to justify this right now.
All I'm saying is Nightcrawler was my least favorite of the top movies that we watched.
That's like saying like the pick of the cheesecake. Like you have all these cheesecakes here and you're like, that piece of cheesecake is not my favorite. It's all still cheesecake. It's all still good.
I do like cheesecake.
I do.
so. Defer to Jill.
No,
Defer to Jill.
no.
Defer to
Jill,
I-
lay it on us.
I very much disagree with this notion on this one. Nightcrawler is a #1 pedigree movie. It should at least get to move on if we are having an argument against literally one of the best movies that we've agreed on to watch against one of the worst movies we've
This
had
was
to
going to
watch.
happen all
But
along.
in fairness, then the tiebreaker should equally lean towards that, knowing these facts going ahead. I mean, am I wrong? Like,
What color is he on your screen?
I
You
am,
tell us in the
I am
comments
so
below.
upset. This is
Jill, Brothers versus Nightcrawler.
this.
As much as I want to make Price's head explode,
I think this would do it.
It was.
I choose Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
That's
Okay.
fair.
That's fine.
It's a better movie. I mean, that's fair.
I didn't even think it had a chance, to be honest.
I just can't believe we're having this argument. Like people are probably watching us right now, and like he said it's a better movie,
And they love Brothers.
but Brothers is going on. Like I could say like Tim and Eric, I gave it a 10. But if it was against something like Nightcrawler, which I gave lower, I'd be like Nightcrawler's objectively the better
Don't worry,
movie.
he'll have a revenge scene
no, it's
eventually
better.
where he'll just pick one and do the
This
same
is
thing.
earlier
It's
that
like
it's
one
not
and it's
based
not
on
gonna matter.
Meredith
But
No,
Miller.
yeah, the Squadron. The
Yeah,
Squadron's
that's
silly.
my
This
point,
one's
and
amazing.
I don't understand. Just continue.
Yes. Can I?
I'm
Are you giving
so
me
done.
permission now?
I'm so done with you.
Are we good? So,
I just can't
surprisingly,
believe
a
this.
1 seed beats a 16 seed. Price, you're okay.
Yeah,
Anyways.
you're right. You're right.
Brothers had no right of even being on the bracket.
All right.
I mean, neither does one of the other movies.
Neither
but
did
we'll get
Ride
into
Your
that.
Wave. Anyways,
Yeah, I
Donnie
know.
Darko. So we have Donnie Darko versus The Fifth Element. This is an 8 versus a 9.
Nathan, these are 2 of your babies. I need to hear it from
Yeah.
you first, buddy. Kill child.
Which
Man.
one's your favorite?
So
Which brother?
The Fifth Element is incredibly entertaining, really good. Like it's A quality B space movie material. It's got a lot of funny moments to it, a lot of unduly high production value. It's a fun ride. It's very much a space comedy at the same time.
Crystal
Whereas Donnie Darko is, it's basically like a very deep psychological movie. I mean, they're so different from one another.
Mhm.
But ultimately, the more meaningful and interesting one to me would be Donnie Darko at the end of the day.
Mm.
And I imagine that's probably what we're gonna see
I
from
think that-
most everybody else.
I think that Donnie Darko is probably the pick for me, just because it's more of a slow burn. While a small-minded person like me, it takes a few watches, like it did with Donnie Darko. But The Fifth Element is more. If you're into the late '80s spacey kind of stuff, like you'll be more on board with it. But Donnie Darko is at least. We've already talked about Jake Gyllenhaal. He has a pretty good performance, even though he's like 19, or he looks it.
Yeah. He could be 27 in that
and
role for all we know.
You could sit there and go on a deep dive about Donnie Darko, and you could look up at the clock and it'd be 4 hours. I mean, there's so many theories to that movie. There's so much going on with it. I think it's the better movie overall. Fifth Element's a fun ride. It's just not a very long ride.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me right now which movie do I want to put on,
Yeah.
right now I'd probably just want to watch Fifth Element. But
See, yeah, I think I would go with Donnie. Well, yeah, you're right. It just depends on your headspace, but
yeah.
Praise.
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko.
Cool.
It took up a lot of my emo angst whenever I was a teenager, and it still holds a lot of staying power. It did. It's not super cringe on the rewatch. I actually enjoyed that about it.
All right.
Yeah, that's a pretty important
That's a
factor.
huge important
That
factor.
is true, and that is one of those movies that, like you just said, like if you were to rewatch it, there's a good chance that you'll find something out from the last time that you watched it.
Mike's on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nathan just starts sweating. Yeah, totally.
I'm positive.
All right, so the next one, a couple of mine. We have a 5 seed versus a 12 Wreck. The zombie crazy apartment thriller versus Slumdog Millionaire.
I'll take Wreck if you want Slumdog.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, works for me. Wreck is, I don't know, it's like a I don't know, like, what would you call it, like a documentary, mockumentary?
It's
kind
in
of
its own
It's
style,
not
bro.
mockumentary because it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
like
trying
it's
to play with it.
serious.
It's trying to use that medium effectively.
I would say documentary-esque, I guess.
Yeah.
And it takes this very grounded concept and again elevates it to a very high level. I mean, even though it's still in Spanish, it still is. And it's all taking place in this one apartment building. Well, it starts in the fire station, I guess, and then it comes to the apartment building, and it takes this very like small, congested atmosphere and plays to its advantage, and really makes you feel like you are feeling all the terror that all the characters are, because they're all behaving in a way that you would believe in a situation like this, where you are quarantined inside this very tiny building with this like zombie-like virus, rabies, and it culminates in such a good way at the end when they finally get like to upstairs and they finally kind of figure out what's going on, and that terrifying last shot still sticks with me where like all the lights go out and she just like gets dragged away. It's such a good movie, and it's my favorite horror movie that we've watched on here. So that's all I'll say for Wreck, but it has my vote.
Yeah, like, while Wreck makes you feel like you're just in a lockbox with just firecrackers going off all around you, that's a great feeling, and for it to only be 70-something minutes, I just watched it the other day, we were all pretty high on it, but my favorite genre is probably horror, so it's one of those, like, I would totally give this the pass, but I do think that Slumdog tells just a better, more cohesive story, and the way that they tie it into Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. To be honest, Slumdog is very dated, where, like, if you were to watch it in 2030, you'd be like, what was that show? You know, like, anybody younger than us would be kind of scratching their heads, but I think that Slumdog did a lot with the main guy. He actually went on to do a lot of other stuff, too, so that's just kind of like, yeah, and then we haven't seen him since.
Like, I think he peaked with that Tiger movie and the Life of Pi.
I don't think he was in that. We had that discussion.
Was that not him?
It looked like him.
Let us know in the comments below. Price thinks that all Indian actors look the same.
Yeah, so I'm going to give the pass to Slumdog and just let these other two hash it out, because I think that it'll probably go one way. But
Nathan.
So I think that's a good point to bring up, that Slumdog feels dated. I mean, it felt dated when we watched it, and that wasn't very long ago. And it's probably only going to continue to feel more dated.
they had flip phones.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
that's how
I mean,
bad that was.
yeah, I mean that's fine, but it like the music choices and stuff
Need I
are
do
something that get brought up often as flaws for this movie. I enjoyed both of these movies, but ultimately, I do like Wreck quite a bit more. It's a much tighter, neater package, and
Neater? Yeah,
I was just
think
gonna say
so.
gorier, bloodier. I don't know. About
it's wrapped in a nice little bow, but it's just dripping down the sides.
It's got some ooze coming out the side. Yeah.
And we have to stop making Dylan the tiebreaker on here. He keeps getting this.
I hate
He lives in the chaos.
I know.
I already hear it coming.
I do too.
I hate to do it, but I think I want to go Slumdog with
He's
this one.
no more tiebreakers for this man.
Here's why.
Yeah, he's going next.
You can let me lead or I'll lead on the next couple ones just to avoid the position. Here's my thing. Wreck's good. Slumdog's good. All right, let's get that out of the way really quickly. Wreck is this very up close, intimate, personal horror thing. Slumdog is a, pretty good altogether cultural piece movie. Mm-hmm. I think when we're looking at a big picture, Wreck's fun. Like, Wreck is fun. I'll give it that credit, and it does the horror beats, pretty fun as far as that stuff goes. But I also enjoy horror thriller stuff, and there are better movies in its category than Wreck. Not to say that Wreck's bad, it's just that, Wreck was great. It was concise, it was 70 minutes, it was that fun little ride from here to there. Slumdog Millionaire did a great job of doing this great difference on inequality in India and its culture piece with all this little, intricate little details of seeing, what they do with, these orphan children and these poor kids that are going on and how they live. And for me, that was just way more engaging. If you told me, again, if it comes down to which movie that I got more out of, I got more out of Slumdog because there's just so much more rich cultural detailing. It shows the inner workings of, another country and makes me feel a part of it. Wreck didn't do that, and it's not that it's bad for it. It just brought less to the table for it.
Made you not want to go to Spain.
I mean, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I probably, now granted, I really wouldn't do it in my way. It talked me down on a couple of places I'm voting on India, but at the same time, it was a sweet story and a fun time going through with it. So I'm going to go Slumdog, guys. I don't feel bad about tie-breaking on that one.
This one, plus the genre mashup was weird. I mean,
it is also a weird mix-up on that.
I'll always give horror the edge, but against an actual foundation movie, and Wreck is just short of a full movie too. Where I'm so
who did the last tiebreaker? Jill.
I mean,
But we can't talk
hash
it
it
out.
out.
Oh, that's true.
I can give it to Slumdog. It's not that big of a deal.
I was gonna say
I just like making him upset to Jill and
I didn't really care on that.
No, I mean, if he's willing to do it, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. So we'll just give it to Wreck.
Slumdog.
Slumdog. Sorry.
Mason just throwing his own thing away. Well, I won. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Go ahead, Bryce. Say it.
Goodbye.
So Slumdog slips on by in that slippery brown puddle of it.
Barely. It's got a definite.
It fell
I
into
can't
the
wait for next round when just cheek.
Alright, so we have a 4 versus a 13. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, which was a favorite, and No Country for Old Men.
Ooh.
These mashups, they just keep on coming.
This could be an interesting one.
I'll lead because I've been forced to tie break and get you guys frustrated on this one for a while. I gotta go No Country for Old Men.
Oh shit!
Say do your pitch. I think you picked this.
Here's my I did end up picking it, and that's not why I'm trying to pick it over favorites with it. Night is Short is a really fun movie. It's funny. My arguments are almost kind of the same from Wreck and Slumdog. Night is Short is this brief, fun, little, awesome animated adventure that is just a blast and an enjoyment ride for it. I remember some parts kind of being a little bit wearing and tearing though, in the main characters.
You're doing No Country.
Obsession. I know. But this is my argument. For me, I'm saying over why No Country looks on. So Night is Short has a couple more gripes with me where No Country for Old Men just had stakes. It had good character performance. It really felt like it had this nice bravado to it that hooked me in, and it's a weird pairing in genres, which is the biggest problem with me. This is something that's a fun enjoyment. That's exactly what it needs to be and wants to do. But again, No Country was one of these ones that was just so compelling, and the performances were so good. How could I not feel like I'm more engaged, more locked in, and I felt like I got more from this movie than there was Short Adventure. I have to go No Country for Old Men on this one.
I have picked a whole lot of anime movies on this podcast.
Almost exclusively.
Anime and animated.
Yeah.
A whole lot. a lot of them tend to almost bleed together. Like the Ghibli films kind of go together. The DreamWorks, of course, kind of blend together. So like the American animated ones and the Japanese animated ones all kind of have the same feeling to them. The Night is Short, I feel like, stands out on all of those. And because it has such a different art style to it, it uses color in such a unique and amazing way to make things pop from the screen. Because like the main color palette I think of this is like black and pink almost. Because it's at night, but there's so much going on underneath it. There's this really interesting plot that's going the whole time, even though I will concede you that like the main guy kind of following that girl around is kind of creepy, but that's kind of what she has to have is a guy like that, because her whole thing is like she's that train that just keeps going along all the time and nobody can catch up with her because she never slows down to let anybody do that. And her adventure from starting from this, like, it's just such a warm world that you want to be a part of too. Everybody's super friendly. Every place that you stop in, there's like a story waiting to be told. The music in it's beautiful. The play is one of the highlights of any movie that I have watched for this podcast. I just the whole thing is just so over the top and funny, and it still, I feel like, still has a lot to say, especially near the end where the guy is having that like crisis where it's showing how he's wrestling with himself in an animated way, kind of almost like in SpongeBob, you know, where he's like having the like, what's his name, like, and it shows him like going all over each other. It's doing the same thing kind of in this movie, and it ends in such a good way. So I have to give the nod to Night is Short for me. No Country for Old Men, as much as I enjoy like the main villain in it, he's really the only thing that I personally remember from the movie. It kind of blends into all those like new age kind of Western movies, like Hell or High Water, which we'll be talking about at some point.
Hell yeah.
Those kind of just blend together for me and make it to where I don't remember the movie as well. I remember him flipping a coin at some point, but that's really the extent. I don't remember too much of this movie. Even though I watched it, none of these movies I've never played in the background and just walked away from. And No Country just didn't do anything outstanding for me.
Can I go next so I don't get yelled at?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
I'm going to go No Country, only because The Night is Short.
We need like a dividing line here.
Well,
I never would have expected that to be the case.
I might switch up on the next round.
Sure.
Like, the Night is Short was exhausting almost in the same sense that Mad Max was, with all of its pastel neon colors. Like, it's a great story, except, like what you just said, like the ending. I actually didn't like the ending that much. I thought that it ran a little bit too long. I don't even mind that the guy was stuck and the girl, like, that wasn't even an issue.
It bothers me.
It was just
he
like,
hangs dong in it. I thought you would like that.
I don't know what he hangs. There's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot
in
of
that
weird
movie.
stuff that goes on in there.
No Country, though, I do like the cat and mouse. Constantly, the camera work is making you think, like, Javier Bardem's character is one step ahead, but then he was one step behind. Then it turns out that he was 2 steps ahead. Menacing villain, like Price said. I mean, wouldn't want to encounter him if he had nothing against you. Like, it's just bad news.
That guy's bad news. You hear that,
Bad
Dylan?
news.
Yeah,
That's bad news.
I think it was in New Mexico or, like, Arizona, too.
Is he doing like
It was
Mason
on
as
a
a
border
dad?
because he
Yeah,
did
it was
go
on the border.
into Mexico
Oh, yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
So, if, you know, we're going to probably bring this up a lot. If I was faced between the two of them right now, I would probably watch No Country just because The Night is Short is just so colorful. And it's good. I just don't think it would hold up on the next go-round.
Okay, so I either lock this up or tip this to No Country. And these two, for me, are incredibly close. You know, any given day, I could flip one way or the other on this. Today, even before everybody had kind of made their calls on it, I do feel like I need to give the tip to No Country, because as a... to me, No Country for Old Men is a piece about the end of an era, the end of the country, like of the Western
Yeah.
movies.
The
Like
sheriff
it's supposed
guy.
to, like, and that's why it's called No Country for Old Men too. I would think is just because it's like it's supposed to be like one of those last hurrahs of that genre, and I think it does it incredibly well. The cat and mouse thing, like you were saying, like you're rooting for who you assume to be the main character of this movie the whole time, and you're just like, oh man, he's just barely making it, but he's making it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think he's gonna pull through, and whenever they just very abruptly pull the rug out from under you on him, and he just dies. I mean, he dies off camera.
Yeah, he dies off camera. I remember that part I was a little jarred by. It made me feel like we were waiting for like he gets out alive and here's how he snuck by. He never did.
I like that happened. Like that, things like that are what really make that movie stand out for me as something.
Josh Brolin, that's that guy's name.
Something pretty special. So I'll give it to that.
And plus, like, Night is Short for what it was. It was very different compared to a lot of anime movies.
I mean, it's really
Hats
good.
off.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Hats off
for
to it.
that one. Yeah.
The next one is Princess Mononoke at a 3 seed versus Sinister. At
Which
a
was
much,
14.
at a much higher seed.
This
14.
one I think does.
This one has some teeth on either side of the argument. But all right, so I don't know. Price, you go ahead.
Oh, you think I want to pick Mononoke?
I know you're gonna pick Mononoke.
Yeah, but
We should probably.
Oh yeah, we've got a battery switch, so we're gonna go ahead and just
Pause.
I'm gonna go use the bathroom.
Wu-Tang.
Very entertaining.
Alright.
It
Braun
didn't
versus
matter.
Hereditary? I won't lie to you. I'll probably give it to Braun on that one.
Oh yeah. Let's take it.
Against Hereditary? Hereditary should have been for
Hereditary's
me by the
great.
time it was said and done.
I think it's great. but
all right,
it's-
are we ready to do Mononoke versus Sinister?
Wu-Tang ain't nothing to fuck with. We're back, everybody. Sponsored
We
by
are.
Wu-Tang Clan.
No, we're not.
What if they find us?
Dude, they're wild.
There's like 8 of them or something.
Yeah, I
One of them
know.
might-
It's too many.
Right. Can we put Wu-Tang in the tags?
There's only 4 of us.
No.
Alright.
We mentioned it. It can be tagged.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's get back to it. We're doing Mononoke versus Sinister.
Mononoke is 3 seed versus 14 seed. Sinister. Price.
So, Mononoke is one of the quintessential anime movies for a reason. It tackles so many different topics and does it all so gracefully and effortlessly almost. Like, you don't even, like, you do kind of realize, like, it's talking almost about, like, how we're not taking care of our planet, like, the rise of industrialism. And it just does it in such a beautiful way, and all of it is, like, hand animated with a little bit of CG, like, when they have the big monsters and stuff. But it's, like, even at the same time, it's almost like horror-esque, especially with some of the shots and the way that they do
it
the
gets
animals.
gruesome. Yeah,
like especially the boar at the end. Like I was like, man, that is gross. And it's Miyazaki at his second best, I would say, in developing this world that really pulls you in, doing what he does best, creating this fantastical world. But unlike Spirited Away, this is not one you probably want to live in because there's a lot of conflict going on. And all the characters are so fully realized and three-dimensional, with one of my favorite villains in any movie being in this movie with Lady Eboshi, the leader of the women tribe, because she could so easily be painted as this black and white, I'm evil, I just want to be more powerful, and I have to go through the forest to do that. But the movie does a way of describing where she comes from and her leading these like afflicted women who all have come from a horrible place. And you understand why she's doing this. And she's not necessarily like just an evil person for the sake of being evil, which is a level of nuance that you don't see in animated movies very much. And this movie does it for all of the characters in large ways.
Someone take it.
You're doing Sinister because you know.
I like Mononoke. I'll give it to Mononoke. I think that it has more staying power. I like also that I feel like it's an anime that has a purpose and it actually sends a message and it does it well. I think it does it enough to where, years from now, if you were to watch it, you'd be like, well, that's actually pretty good. And against this matchup, again, horror is my favorite genre, but if it was matched up against someone a little less powerful than Mononoke, I think it would win. But Princess Mononoke still sticks with me, and I think that it's, like you said, and if I'm not mistaken, it had like 3 different, it was like a triangle.
Yeah, it was the kid from the village, it was Mononoke.
Yeah, the guy with the arm, the Mononoke.
And the priest guy.
And
Yeah.
the priest, yeah.
And,
God. Who was it that voice acted?
I told you all to watch.
it was Billy Bob Thornton.
I told
Yeah.
I told you all to watch the
Oh,
Japanese
yeah,
version.
I
I
watched-
said it. I was like, do Japanese for this one.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
so
Yeah, I
bad.
remember you all said that in the review that like he was just
Right.
awful.
Yeah, I mean, but the English dub for Studio Ghibli films are almost all good. So it's
Yeah.
kinda hard not to sit there and go that
Like,
way.
I think I could watch
Surprising.
Mononoke like right now, and I would be fine with it. I think I would.
Well, you can
Long-
color me surprised on that one.
Mono-
I thought you were gonna go with mine. I was gonna go with yours.
Mononoke is a very long movie though. Like granted, it is like an epic in its own sorts. Like I mean, it's definitely this huge 3-part pack thing, and it has so much going on with it. But I remember thinking, even whenever I was watching, I was just like, this. As much as I enjoy this, I'm like, this is kind of a fat movie. I could cut the priest stuff, and honestly, this movie would be better for it. And there's some extra runtime and flack here, but if you were to sit there and tell me, is it worse than Sinister for being that? I'm like, no, because it has so much good in that fat though too. Like this is an American pizza for sure. Like this is something that you're like, it's a deep dish. It has the flavor. It's good. I know it's not good for me, but it is good. So Nathan, I mean, it doesn't matter if you go Sinister or not.
Yeah.
But I do want to hear what you're going to go
It's
with that.
pretty close. I feel like Sinister is one of the best of the horror.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's gotten an unfair shake in its matchup.
Yeah, because
maybe one of the best in anime.
If Sinister was honestly in a different bracket, it's one that like I could even give the nod to. Even though like I don't personally enjoy it, like I see it for what it is, and it is scary.
Which is funny because thinking I might even had Sinister going ahead whenever I first did this bracket for mine, but like even just sitting here thinking about it on Mononoke more, I was like, I have to give it to Mononoke. So Mononoke moves on. Oh boy!
Now here comes a slugfest.
All right,
6 seed of Step Brothers going up against 11 seed Rush.
So you want to do Step Brothers? I'll do Rush, or
I'm gonna go ahead with my pitch.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier, comedies, unless they are done very well and they have some edge to them, in my opinion, don't make it. I mean, it's just all about the writing, and it's all about who you get to cast it. And if they're good, then they're great, super awesome. Like Superbad, great comedy. I'm not gonna put it even in my top 100 movies of all time. It's just how it is. Rush, I'm not saying is above and beyond everything, but I do like the true story aspect of it. Love Chris Hemsworth in it. Daniel Bruhl, right? Yeah, Daniel Bruhl's pretty darn good as the Austrian. I can't remember. Niki Lauda. Yeah, like it's one of those things too.
You already know his ass.
Whenever movies do that thing where like they pick a topic, much like The Social Network, that you don't really know much about, or you're not super familiar with, and they do it well, I give credit to them more so than anything. So yeah, Formula One in the 1980s, I should have never seen anything about it, but Rush did it, and I really enjoyed that movie. Ron Howard, too, as far as what he was able to do with all of the costume design and just the shots of all the rain, and it looked old. If you didn't see Chris Hemsworth in it, you would have thought it was a little older than what it was. So
defer to Nathan, probably the best, because if we're
both
already showing our hand, Nathan's
yeah,
gonna go
I already know I was fighting.
Save the emotion for it on this one, yeah.
Unless anybody's actually teetering, I doubt they are. I mean, I'll do my pitch, but
I defer.
I mean, for me, these two, both of them aren't a big
Either or,
movie
such a weird
for
match
me.
against one. Okay.
I think ultimately I would tip it to Step Brothers just because, like, I understand the idea that comedies don't have staying power. I'm not generally that big on comedies in any way, but I think Step Brothers is one of the better comedy movies and definitely one of Will Ferrell's best. And that's not to say that he's got a lot of good ones. I generally think he doesn't do very good at all.
agreed.
But Step
what if he finds us?
Step Brothers was
I'm
solid.
offended.
All right, so I'll do my pitch just speaking into the air. It's obviously when we Step Brothers for me, this is the true 10 that I have. Tim and Eric's kind of like more of a joke kind of 10. I do enjoy that movie.
It's not a joke. He put it as a 10.
It still is kind of a joke for me.
With his whole heart.
But Step Brothers, like, I find it so funny, like Mason brings up casting when it comes into comedies, because I think Step Brothers is one of the best examples of casting in a comedy movie. Honestly, John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell carry this movie and crush it because they're doing what they do best, acting like man-children. And what is this movie about? Man-children. So they both have been creating their acting careers for this one role. And the mom
Sherlock and Holmes?
Let's not talk about that.
Sorry, that was another one.
That's again
You're
Will
right,
Ferrell.
You're right. They're
doing
awesome
movies.
together. They only do great stuff.
Sherlock Holmes is supposed to be this ace detective that can solve any crime, and you put two boobs in there to do it? No, they're not comparable.
Two boobs sounds like a whole body to me, Price.
And then,
Yeah, they
and then like
typically come in pairs.
and then the mom and dad are both hilarious in their own rights with what little screen time and script they're given. And Adam Scott, I think, is possibly the best casted person in this movie. He plays the douchey brother in this to an insane degree. It's funny, he goes like from this to Parks and Rec, where he's like this lovable guy, when a lot of the times in movies he is like this douche and does so well at it. All the jokes, I think, land wherever they're put. There's jokes throughout it. There's not a moment in the movie where you're not laughing. Even in the downbeat part, where it's showing them separated and like they're going through their adult lives, and it's supposed to be like kind of a downbeat, you're still kind of chuckling because like one of them runs out of toilet paper and has to like grab the rug. Like, it's just full of jokes throughout the movie. Whereas Rush, to me, it doesn't do anything spectacular. The only reason I remember it at all is because Dylan has memed it so much. That's the only reason I do.
Enjoy it that much.
It's chuckles. Yeah.
It just feels like another by the books sports drama, like I've seen a bunch of times before. Whereas Step Brothers is a comedy that will last a long, long time.
My pitch is just I just like Rush more. I mean, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, I could go into a long thing, but here's my reverse argument on Step Brothers is that Step Brothers is, I'll grant you, probably the best of the John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell, template.
Trilogies.
Right. Quadruplets, because there's 9 other movies with them in that one, and they're
There's
all...
3.
There's 3.
Oh, actually, there's 4.
Yeah.
Land of the Lost they did together, too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's a bad movie.
So, all of that is to the point where it feels like 9, though. If you told me that there was anywhere from 4 to 8, and you could make up movies and say John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell, I'm like, I believe you. Like, they all feel like they had a great time with Step Brothers, and then they made fan fiction of like what these 2 guys in other universes would do, and that's the rest of their careers together.
But those movies shouldn't detract from...
I mean, you're right. I don't want to say detracts, but part of it does have this weird like lull where, I don't know, I go back to Step Brothers now, and like Step Brothers was like fun in the college days where I feel like I had more of a kick of it. But if you ask me, all right, what's the best part of that movie for me? I say it's Adam Scott, and I think most of people would honestly agree with it. But I'm like,
He's really good.
that's a detriment against Step Brothers for me because I'm
No, it's not. He's like one of the main characters.
No,
he's awesome.
He's like the 4th, maybe 3rd main character on that one. But the point is that, all right, if you come in here and you say that the main character, like John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell, and you're like, these are the guys who get 90% of the jokes, are lacking to me compared to the side character, that for me decreases the quality for like the comedy of it all. And like on the rewatch thing, I remember not being as swell and enjoyed as Rush. Rush was just like a fun adventure, like sports thing for me. And I don't know, God, maybe I am a sports drama person because between this and the Warrior and Creed, that's a weird thing to think. I hate sports, but I guess I fucking love the sports drama movies.
Baseball movies, I'm like that. I hate baseball, but my God, there are so many good baseball movies. I couldn't give a damn about baseball. Anyways,
yeah, like Bad News Bears, right?
Bad News Bears is okay. You got Moneyball. You've got The Rookie.
Who's the guy from Bad News Bears?
Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, that's who I thought. I was
that's
like,
the
priest from Mononoke.
Yeah. I was thinking like it's somebody who was way overcast for that role.
Right. So I don't know. I guess. Is there any leeway in giving Rush or Step Brothers on that? I mean,
well, like I said whenever I started, I'm not strongly one way or the other on these movies, and I don't particularly have a strong opinion for either of them. They're not that high for me either.
Yeah, they're not making it the next round. Probably
not.
Like that's the other thing too. So ultimately, I am okay seeing Rush go for it. I am too. I think it's a good movie. Yeah. You know, they both are good movies.
We like upsets.
I used all of my vitriol against Brothers.
On Nightcrawler.
Yeah, he's all tuckered out and he's like, fuck it.
Yeah, Step Brothers, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to go far. It's just a personal to him. One, I know that it's not a quintessential comedy.
So we have something exciting happening.
Oh boy.
Do we?
And Jill can't be a tiebreaker in this if there is a tie for some reason.
No, she can come in. She can voice her opinion. This is actually her movie.
What is it?
Oh.
It's Moonrise Kingdom, which is at a 7, versus a 10, The Little Prince.
Little Prince made it on here?
Hell yeah, Little Prince made it on here.
We had 2 guest picks make our 64 team list.
Yeah.
Do we want
first?
Show's quality.
Do we want to do pitches, or are we just going to vote?
I say we just all on 1, 2, 3 vote and just kind of see where it lands on this one.
Okay.
I'm intrigued on that one.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Wait, was that 3 Moonrises?
What is that?
Moonrise.
Moonrise?
Yeah.
I did Prince.
Oh, that's fine.
Jill, what's your take?
Jill?
I haven't seen Moonrise.
Okay. All right, so
Man.
Moonrise.
For me, it's clear. Like it's pretty clear that it would be Moonrise.
It's a fun
Which
ride.
I mean, I get that it's Wes Anderson, so
Yeah.
generally you're not gonna
It's
like
Wes
it.
Anderson being actually Wes Anderson,
Yeah.
not
Well,
like.
Rather than
and
Mr.
this-
Fox,
Right,
which
yeah.
I really enjoy.
If I had to defend this movie, I mean,
You
the
don't.
performances.
Just save your pitch.
Performances by these kids were
Yeah,
great.
keep,
let
keep
alone
in mind, we will be discussing these in later battles.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, so next we have Creed, the low 15 seed versus Inglourious Bastards, which might as well be a 1 seed.
Oh, this is a
Yeah.
blowout.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Just put it glorious.
I love Creed, but my God, Inglourious Bastards. What's his face is?
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, Christoph
I already
Waltz.
know who you're talking about.
I'm like, just Christoph Waltz alone in this is just
okay.
so good.
So,
Are we on the other side?
Yeah, we're
That
on the
is
other side.
The first.
We're only
so
halfway
that
through.
is, That is the first half of
The
the
first
first round.
Yeah.
So
If we weren't to be so time conscious, I would have like a halftime breakdown to say which ones upsets were like the biggest things on your report.
I was so
But
wrong.
this is so
Like a
beefy
halftime
already.
report?
Yeah.
we've got so
We have
much. To
so
get
much
through,
more to go through. Oh my
But
God.
we're gonna have to take
Power
a break here
Time out
and
we are.
for the consistency
jump
of
back
the videos.
in on the next episode.
Yep, so make sure to tune in to part 2 of this great, crazy bracket event. We were getting wild, so make sure to tune in. Just stay on this channel. I don't know, maybe we'll figured out how to do hyperlinks or put the, like, click here on the video, and it takes you right to part 2.
Ooh,
That sounds hard.
annotations.
Yeah.
and-
Oh, man.
Yeah, if Nathan figures out how to do that, then that'll be there. If there's no video right here, then we didn't figure it out. Just go to the channel, go to part 2.
Mission unsuccessful.
Know that part 2 is coming. So stay tuned, guys. Part 2 is coming right up next.
Bye.
Please come back.
Please.
I was wrong. Hereditary and Raw don't
Hi,
go
Marina.
against each other.